It's been translated into more than 110 languages, and with more than 140 million copies in print, it's one of the most widely published books in the world. But what is the Book of Mormon? Where did it come from? And who is this Mormon fellow? This is the Book of Mormon. Made simple. The Book of Mormon is a volume of ancient scripture, similar to the Bible. The Bible tells the story of the ancient inhabitants of the Middle East, and the Book of Mormon tells the story of the ancient inhabitants of the Americas. The Book of Mormon begins with the account of a prophet named Lehi, who lived in Jerusalem around 600 BC. God warned Lehi in a dream that Jerusalem would be destroyed because of the wickedness of the people. Lehi gathered a small group, including his family, and fled into the wilderness. With God's protection and guidance, this group crossed the Arabian desert, built a ship, and sailed to the American continent. Shortly after arriving, conflict within the group caused them to split into two rival factions, the Nephites and the Lamanites. As time passed, the Nephites and the Lamanites grew into great civilizations. God called prophets among these people just as he did in Jerusalem. These prophets, such as Nephi, Jacob, Mosiah, and Alma, prophesied of Christ. They also recorded a history of the people on thin sheets of brass and gold, known as plates. Their writings cover historical, political, and military events. They also contain sacred revelations given by God to the inhabitants of the Americas. Most importantly, their writings testify of Jesus Christ. Around 34 AD, a prophet named Nephi recorded the account of Christ's visit to the American continent, shortly after his death and resurrection in Jerusalem. Christ stayed with the people for a time, teaching them, healing their sick, and organizing his church just as he had done in Israel. After his ascension, the people were righteous for a time, and there was peace between the Nephites and the Lamanites. Several hundred years later, the people fell into wickedness. A great battle was fought between the Nephites and the Lamanites, in which the Nephite civilization was entirely destroyed. Shortly before this destruction, a Nephite prophet named Mormon compiled the writings of all the prophets into a single narrative, engraving them on plates of gold. He later passed this record to his son Moroni, who would be the last living warrior among the Nephites. Following the great battle, Moroni fled northward to escape the Lamanites, and eventually arrived in what we now know as upstate New York. Before his death, Moroni buried the ancient record in a hill called Cumorah. Meanwhile, the Lamanite civilization continued to grow. Today we count them among the ancestors of the American Indians. Approximately 1400 years later, Moroni appeared as an angel to a young man named Joseph Smith, and disclosed the location of the buried plates. Joseph retrieved these plates, and through the power of God translated them from Reformed Egyptian into the English language. This book was published in 1830 as the Book of Mormon, another testament of Jesus Christ. The term Mormons is a nickname used to describe members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, because of their belief in the Book of Mormon and their use of it as a companion scripture to the Bible. If you'd like to receive a free copy of the Book of Mormon, please visit mormon.org. And for more fun videos on the Mormon faith, visit mormonsmadesimple.com.